What I want to tell you about today is a camera I just bought, a Sony a5000. Right here it is. I got it off of eBay, and I didn't pay very much for it. And the reason I got it cheap is because, number one, the guy had lost the power cord for it. Well, come to find out, the power cord, USB cord. I did a little research, I found that out, so that was no big deal. The other problem that it had is the LCD screen isn't clear and bright, and it came like that from the factory for him, and he was on vacation and he didn't have time to send it back because he couldn't make use of it, and he let the warranty lapse and he didn't get it repaired. So he, being a truthful eBayer, told everybody about that. Nobody wanted to bid on it. Well, Scotty Smith's not afraid of that because I like working on electronics. So one of the things I did before I put a bid on this thing, which I won for next to nothing, I will add, it takes gorgeous pictures. It takes gorgeous pictures and it shoots amazing videos. As a matter of fact, the other videos that I've done on this channel were shot on this camera. But I got on Alibaba, and from China, I got a replacement LCD screen for $28, $29, and it even came with a little toolkit. So what I'm going to do in this video, and I've never done this before, I've never worked on a camera before in my life, but I've worked on a lot of gadgetry. I've torn a lot of laptops apart and rebuilt them, sometimes from 2 or 3 different laptops, all of the same make and model. And I've torn thousands of desktops apart, desktop computers apart, and built thousands of them as well. So I'm going to take you on this little journey with me, the first time I've ever fixed a camera. So grab your cup of coffee, get ready. This is going to be fun. Here we go. Before we even get started, what you should always do whenever you're working on any electronic, take that battery out, because there's no quicker way to mess one up than to go to digging around in its innards with the battery still in it. I probably need to take this off, so I'm going to do that. Excuse me for a minute. When you come back, I'm going to have the lens off and this thing off. Okay guys, now we're ready. I got the lens off and took the battery out. It's fairly simple. What we do is we just open up the rear window. On the very bottom part, on the flat part of the flip-up screen, there's 2 little screws. So we're just going to take those 2 screws out, 2 little tiny screws. Our little screwdriver is working perfectly for this. Just takes them right out. So we take these 2 screws out, and then we go from there. And what we're going to find after we take these 2 out, set them aside, turn it up, and there's 2 screws on the very top of the little flip-off screen. Now I apologize from the get-go. I wasn't really very well aware of what my camera angle was when I was making this, so some of the video isn't clear, but I'll try to describe it as best I can. Right now I've just tilted the flip-up screen up and I'm taking the 2 screws off of the top edge. 1. And 2. So far my little tool kit that came with the replacement screen is working wonderfully, but that's just so far. Later on in this it won't work quite as well, and I'll explain to you how and why you should probably have some other screwdrivers as well. So you just take the back off now. It comes right off. You may want to use one of your little drifts, one of your little plastic drifts that came with it. I didn't need to. This came right off. I'll set that to the side, and now there's another little piece in there that is pretty easy to get off. It just unsnaps, comes right off. I'll set that on top of the other one. There we go. And you'll notice at this point, and I wish I could show you this, but the main ribbon cable that comes off of your LCD comes up on the right side. It comes through a slot, and what you'll want to do is you'll want to unplug that ribbon cable from the circuit board and get that ready, because that ribbon cable is there's another one attached to your LCD, and it's going to go there. And you're going to find out too that you've got two copper colored screws along the base of that are connected to a hinge. You're going to have to undo those two copper colored screws. Now, I spent a little bit of time jiggling this around. Like I told you, my manual wasn't very effective. It was for a different model. Plus, it didn't show how to break down the LCD screen at all. It only showed how to take it off. So I didn't do my research as well as I thought I had, but I got it figured out. So right now I'm just working on, and unfortunately you can't see that, but the little ribbon cable that's attached to the LCD screen over at the right side, I'm just working that loose from its socket. Be gentle, you don't want to damage the socket. It doesn't really matter about the ribbon cable, but you need to show a little finesse here, because if you get to yanking and a pulling, you're going to tear something up. These are very small, little minuscule pieces, and it doesn't take a whole lot of damage to mess them up good. So right now I'm just working on getting that out. Once I get it out, then what you're going to see me do is get my screwdriver, get those two copper screws out. Now, what I was telling you about having other screwdrivers, that little screwdriver that came with the toolkit didn't work on those copper screws, and right now I'm using my drifts to try to get the apparatus out of the casing to get to the LCD screen, because I haven't quite figured out yet that I got to take those two copper screws out. I think now it's starting to come to me.
See about.
And here I am in exasperation, looking again in vain at this damn manual that I had downloaded that's completely worthless to me for what I'm doing here, and which you don't even need to waste your time with. It's a little comforting to have something like that. If you start crying, you've got something to wipe your tears with, but other than that, it's kind of worthless. So right now I'm just trying to get a feel for how that new LCD is going to go in. It all starts making sense to me, and I realize those two little copper screws have to come out. So now I'm going to get those two little copper screws out. Again, I'm using one of the screwdrivers that came with it. That screwdriver won't quite get them out. So what I had to do was revert to my other toolkit, the one that I had brought as an extra just in case I did need it. I wasn't actually able to do the whole job with just the little toolkit that came. I might have been able to, but I was afraid that since it didn't fit those copper colored screws very well, that I was going to end up stripping them. So I ended up, here in just a second, you'll see that I used a bigger screwdriver. And here I am just using my drifts, trying to break the apparatus loose. And now I finally figured out that those two copper screws have to come out. And they do have to come out, guys. So you're going to take a total of 6 screws out. You're going to take the first 2 off of the flat back side of the flip-up panel. You're going to take 2 off the top. You'll take the 2 covers out that I've got laying to the side. And then just go ahead and take those 2 copper-colored ones out and be done with it. Don't waste your time trying not to do that, because they do have to come out. That's a fact. So, anyway, on we go with this. This really wasn't as bad of a job as I thought it might be. It was fairly easy to do. Once I got the 2 copper-colored screws out, I was able to use my drifts, break the circuit board loose enough that I could finesse the LCD screen out, and then the other one fit in just like a glove. It was really nice. Now here in a minute you're going to hear some crackling and popping. Sounds like things are breaking. Don't get overly excited. That was a simple matter of glue that was holding the old LCD in, and it was a bad LCD. According to this guy that I had bought this from, it came from the factory like that. And sometimes that happens. It was a bad LCD, and I replaced it, and well, you'll see how it turned out. But here I am. I actually give you a good shot of the circuit board coming up out of the casing there, and how much room you've got to get into that old LCD. And here you're going to hear it coming loose here in just a second, I believe. You don't have a whole heck of a lot of room here, so use your thumb, use your drifts, get whatever little space you can, and then you've got to break the old LCD loose. Watch, there's two other little ribbon cables attached to your circuit board that go off into the body of your camera that you don't want to separate or tear or break in any way. Use your drifts to break the old LCD loose. It is glued to the frame. Hear that cracking and popping? That's nothing breaking, guys. That's simply a seal, a taped seal that's being gotten loose. So no reason to get excited. It's just you got to take your time, use your drifts, have a little finesse, a little patience. Don't get nervous. Just gentle hands, gentle hands. So I've got it switched around to the way that it's going to go in. Or I'm sorry, that's not the way it's going to go in. That's the reverse of the way it's going to go in. Actually, the green shiny side will be towards the rear. You want the dark side towards the screen so that you can actually see it. And it's just like an old rotten tooth. It comes out slow and mean and hard, but with persistence, eventually it does come out. I used to work in a prison, and I'd see some of these old inmates, because they'd have to wait for months to get into the dentist. Sometimes they'd get an old pair of nail clippers and break them apart and use that nail clipper to dig an old rotten tooth out of their head. Just a little side note there. But eventually, the old, corroded, rotten LCD comes out of its place with a rip and a tear. There it is. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. The old one out.
There's the old one out.
Yep. And now we're going to put the new one in.
And now, let us put the new one in. Shall we?
Be careful when you're taking these apart. You don't touch the LCD anywhere but on its edges. Try not to touch that ribbon cable. That's easier said than done, but the more you gunk it up, get oil on it, get your phalanges all over it, the less chance it has of making good connection and working. These things are actually built in like a vacuum sealed environment by guys wearing rubber gloves. So here I go with my hillbilly hands, after I just ate greasy chicken wings and everything else, figuring it's a wonder anything I ever touch comes and works. But I fixed probably 90% of the projects I start. I end up getting fixed, and they're successful. So my advice is, don't be afraid to tear it apart. If it was made by human hands, it can be fixed by human hands. It doesn't take anybody necessarily special to work on something like this. You just have to be patient, have a light touch, and be persistent. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Don't get overwhelmed. It's just a piece at a time. So I've put the new one in right now. I am working on getting the circuit board back in its casing. Now, down at the left-hand side, you're going to notice, and I didn't notice when I was taking it apart, but there's a little metal clip that you have to disengage to get it out of that casing, and then to get it back in, you have to kind of force it. So I got that thing in there. It was a little hard, but down at the left-hand side, as you're holding it just like I am now, and you're looking at it, down at the left-hand side, there's a little metal clip that's part of that circuit board casing that goes into the plastic casing that holds your LCD. So now I'm putting the 2 copper screws back in that I had taken out earlier that took me a while to figure I had to take out. Those copper screws, they were different sizes. One of them worked with one of my other screwdrivers, not the one that came with the kit. And then I had to get a different screwdriver, one a little bit bigger, to get the one on the right side out. So I don't know what the deal was with that, if that's a trick from the factory to try to get you to tear your camera up if you work on it. But like I said, take your time. If it's not coming out and you're not comfortable, switch tools. Just don't get in a hurry. Don't start yamming and pulling and a tearing and stuff. It can be done. You just got to relax and take your time to do it. So now I've got that hinge back on. It's just a matter of the new LCDs installed. Now I've got, if you can't really tell, but I'm inserting the ribbon cable now. Just stay back from the edge of it with your fingers. Finesse it into the little socket it goes into. Make sure you seat it firmly. Push it in there several times. I use my thumbnail because there's just a little ridge where it seams in. And once you get it in and it's seated firmly, then you're good to go. Don't mess with it anymore. And once I get that seated firmly, and it took a little while because, like I said, I had to use my thumbnail. Okay, next thing we're going to do, as you can tell,
Finesse it in.
I should have probably gone a little slower and zoomed in a little better. I was kind of in a hurry. I wanted to get this done. But I think you can get the gist of it. This isn't really a hard project at all. It was really very, very easy, and I'm actually going to get online and see if I can't buy another couple of these with bad LCDs.
So I have faith that when we put this back together,
now you're just going to put that second cover on, put it on, put your primary cover on. You're going to put all 4 screws in on top of both covers. Put the 2 on the top in first and fit your cover back in just exactly the way it came out. It fits very, very precise. You might have to use a screwdriver or a drift to help the thin edges of the casing fall within the other casing, but all the screw holes line up. As soon as the screw holes line up, you just put the little screws in and it goes back together tight and nice and wonderfully. Not a hard job at all. I actually enjoyed it, although it was, for a little bit of time. And I cut out the time it spent me, or that I spent spinning that thing around trying to figure out what the heck I was doing. So you didn't have to go through that. But after I figured it out, I could do this job again 1,000 times, and it wouldn't be an issue at all. I got everything back together, everything locked in tight. Put the 2 screws in the top. Now I'm going to put the 2 screws in the base of it, and that's all there was to it. You'll see the results here in just a second.
Now we only need to get these last little screws in, and we're ready to test our new screen. I have all the confidence in the world that this little fella is going to fire right up. Gonna fire right up.
And of course, now if this tutorial has been of any help to you at all, and you'd like to see more of things like this, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button. Let me know in the comments what you like, what you want to see, what more I can do, and I'll be glad to accommodate you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, there's the finished product. We will put our lens back on. Put our battery in, and to give it a try, everybody, cross your hands, cross your fingers, I mean.
And I don't know if you can see that, but my friends, there we go. Never be afraid of Japanese technology, ladies and gentlemen, and never be afraid to take something apart and put it back together. This is Scotty Smith signing out.